Jason, how you doing?
Hey, doing great, Frank. How about you, man?
So I'm Brian. You've probably talked to Frank, but I'm Brian.
Oh, you know what? I've been getting emails from Frank. I thought you were Frank. Sorry.
Yeah, no, not a problem. So we appreciate you joining us today. This is our first time meeting, obviously, for
Yeah.
everybody involved. But Jason is really a listing expert and really focused on expireds, FSBOs, a lot of those things that go way back in time where we don't have a lot of people like that around anymore. So I think of the teams that I speak with on a regular basis, there are many, many of them that are focused on how do I get more listings because they have all these leads coming in for buyers. They're all powerful buyer teams, but they all know if I could get my listings to be more than my buyers, I could double or triple my business. So grateful to have you here with us today.
Yeah,
Welcome.
man. I really appreciate it. And you know what? I was in that same situation you talked about. This is back in 2011, 2012, around that time. Had a big team of buyers agents. Man, I did a lot of searching and optimization, spent a lot of money on ads, spent a lot of money on stuff. And it was like a hamster wheel of constant spending and constant increases in overhead, it seemed like. And I had this realization about then. I'd been a telephone prospector pre-team, built the team, got good at generating leads online. All of a sudden, I kind of got away from the phone a little bit. And you know what? I had this realization one time that for me to really have control over my life and have control over my business, I need to go get more listings. I could have 50 listings all get shown today while I'm sitting in my pajamas, Brian, or I could have 50 qualified buyers, and me and my team probably couldn't show them all property this week, right? Um, and then I learned that, hey, when I got more listings, all of a sudden I got more buyers that were basically free leads from signed calls, from just natural syndication, the Zillow, Realtor.com, and all that stuff. So I had a lot of big realizations when I started listing, just going out there listing more property and learning how to get better on the phone. And that's what I do with my group coaching group is I teach people how to build a listing heavy business and how to basically use your business to take back control of your life is what it is. So I
So,
tell
so
you,
just to clarify, you are an author now. You're also a coach,
yeah.
and do you still run a team?
No, I don't. It's just me, and I got a buyer's agent, and I don't do as many transactions as what I did before. I changed my focus a lot the last few years and started looking at how could I use my real estate business to leverage it into, just ongoing income? How could I leverage it into buying more rental property, building a big rental portfolio? And I focused on that. I focused on basically building my coaching company and just serving my clients out there and trying to help them be the best real estate agents they can be. And that's what we're talking about today. 7 tips. I actually got a few more than seven here in my notes here, but I will tell you guys one that's like a bonus one. I just added to the list. So I got all these rental property, Brian. I had eviction hearings this morning, which is always a fun thing to do. And usually I do my own evictions as far as showing up to court and filing them and stuff. We can do that in our area. So I get there this morning, and just to give you a brief summary of what it was man, I done property management for other people back in 2012, 2013, 2010 when the market was really bad, right? I felt like that was the peak of evictions and foreclosures and all that stuff until today. I show up in court, they had to bring in extra chairs, right? And this is something I've been telling my group coaching people that right now we got this crazy moratorium on evictions right now that with the Trump's presidential order and the CDC where there's a moratorium on evictions until December 31st. So it's created an insane opportunity out there for agents. We don't have a lot of for sale owners. We don't have a lot of expires, but you know what? There's a lot of people out there that are landlords that I will tell you what, in October 2020, there's a lot of those people that don't want to be landlords anymore
Yeah.
because you can't evict the tenant for being late on their rent. So if they're not violating the lease in any other way, you just kind of got to ride things out with them until December 31st. And it might be There's some other states that might even have more stuff than that, but South Carolina, we're pretty down the middle. Is where that goes. So, man, there's a tremendous opportunity with for rent by owners, contacting and building relationships, going through your MLS, pulling. If you're in a big market like Houston, Dallas, Fort Lauderdale, where you have a lot of rentals in MLS, I'm almost jealous of the opportunity that you have because we don't have a lot of rentals in our MLS, right? But if you go back, grab those rentals that got rented in the last 12 months, start calling those owners, there's a lot of opportunities to help them. Even if you don't help them do an eviction, there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of grant programs that get caught up with evictions that you can offer them assistance on. And, hey, if I can help them get their tenant, 3 or 4 months of rent, then there might be the opportunity there to build that relationship. And 3 or 4 months down the road, when the tenant moves out, maybe we can list their property for them. So I got a couple things I want to share with you. I got a graphic, man. If you can.
Yeah, if you want to share your screen, we'll put it up there.
Let's see. We'll do a screen share. Okay, so I don't feel like we see this a lot, but this is my book, How to Be an Expired Master. But this is what our listing system really should look like. It should really look like a funnel. In our job being a listing agent out there is to go out there and basically where this bucket of balls are, we got to figure out where the bucket is and how to keep the top level of the funnel full. We got to continuously figure out how to have those first conversations, right? And when you start looking at your business this way, it's going to change things a little bit for you. If you're out there working with Zillow, you're working with buyer leads, you're working with Boomtown, whoever it is, a lot of agents, what we see, they have the constant up and down in their business, the roller coaster where they have 3 or 4 closings this month, then they don't have anything for 2 or 3 months. Lots of times, if they go back to what they're doing, what happened was they either got rid of the bucket of balls, right? They got rid of the leads coming in the top of the funnel, or what they ended up doing was they quit calling them. They quit doing those level 1 conversations. Now, the thing I teach in my group coaching is that once we have those conversations, those first conversations are really just judging motivation, judging whether or not they really want to sell their house. And then really once you get past that, it's just a follow-up game, right? So let's go back to where you guys are. I think my screen sharing just quit, but that funnel is the basis, I feel like, for our business, Brian. And if we can keep the top level of the funnel full and keep having those first conversations and that just following up with the people that are wanting to keep following. Sorry about my dog there, man. He's wild this. So yeah, I got a 70-pound golden doodle, and he wants to be involved in the call today, apparently. And but if we can keep having those top level conversations and keep dumping people into our funnel, man, and we keep following up based on their needs, we're going to keep having people coming out. Now, that was the first tip. The second tip that I have for you guys today that a lot of us are missing right now is we went through this crazy year with 2020, and it's been a roller coaster, and depending on where you are, kids aren't really going back to school. They're doing this hybrid homeschool, go to school a couple days a week, funky thing, and honestly, it's almost a mess. But the number 2 thing is our schedule. Here in 2020, I feel like, man, if you stuck to your schedule through like from March to basically the last couple of months, God, you're a superhero, right? Between kids being home from school, people being out of work, just everything, quarantines, sickness, COVID-19. But man, if we can take and just stick to our prospecting schedule, right? I think whether it's we're calling 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever it is, maintain that consistency. If we're consistently making calls and the sellers, we're consistently setting appointments and going on appointments, we're going to consistently get listing agreements signed. And
So
that,
when COVID first hit, I saw a lot of our customers actually step up their activities. So instead of an agent having 30 conversations a day, they were having 60 conversations a day. And the interesting thing was more people were answering their phones, so it was easier to have more conversations, but it took more conversations to get the same amount of results because everyone had the fear of COVID. That's kind of back down and the markets really picked back up. But I think during those times of the pandemic first coming around, the people that I think picked up the market share really doubled down on their activities, not just maintained, but actually doubled down on their activities.
I think, you know what, I saw a lot of agents in my coaching program, a lot of them picked up their activity, just like what you're saying. They were getting a lot more people on the phone, and there was a lot more, there's a great opportunity. There's a lot of people sitting around with nothing to do, you know? It's a great opportunity to follow up your sphere of influence and everybody, really. And then, but then we saw a lot of agents that they could get approved for unemployment. They went and got unemployment, and literally they all but left the business for a little while. Basically, they quit, and that's been a crazy thing. But guys, if we could, you know, I'm a big believer that if you could go out there and just stick to your schedule 75% of the time, 80% of the time, you would see, or stick to your prospecting schedule 75, 80% of the time, you would see your results go up dramatically, right? The next thing that I'm seeing agents not doing, and this is newer agents more so than older agents, is sticking to a script. I don't know if you've seen this, Brian, but we see it a lot in Facebook groups. I see it a lot in real estate agents that really work. You'll see somebody make a post and they go, "Hey man, I had a great day on the phone. Set 3 appointments." And then the first question is, "What script did you use?" And they go, "Hey, we use the XYZ coaching such and such script that's amazing." And they go, "Oh, well, can I get that script too?" Well, what happens with a lot of agents, especially new to prospecting, is they go online, they download, you know, whatever coach's scripts, they buy one of my books or whatever it is, they get a script, they start calling, right? They do 3, 4, 5 days of calling. They start getting comfortable asking the questions, start getting comfortable with objections. Then they see a great post on Facebook like that, and all of a sudden they switch from script A that they're getting comfortable with to the XYZ coaching script or whatever it is, and then they basically have to start all over. The whole thing with mastery, and when you get really good off the phone, is to ask those same 4 or 5 questions over and over again. Then all of a sudden you're going to know all the same. You're going to know all the answers. You're going to know all the objections, and it's almost going to become magical for you. And every time you switch scripts, there's another learning curve for you. So even if it doesn't matter whose script you're using, I mean, you want to use one that works and it's proven and it's getting results, but at the same time, every time you switch, there's another learning curve that comes with that switch. All right. So I think that's it.
One thing on that, and this takes me back a ways, but I know when I was calling, when I jumped in to help Spring with her business, I was calling FSBOs and expireds, and I found that always having a script, even though I had a script memorized, always having a script on a piece of paper in front of me where I could take notes, be active, it just made things better, made the conversation flow more. So not only sticking to a script, but always having a script in front of you. If you have agents who are on phones dialing, I would highly recommend you get scripts in front of them that every day they're dialing, they have a script on their desk in front of them. So I just wanted to add that to that.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. You know what? I do some role playing and stuff with my coaching clients. And lots of times we'll do it like live Zoom and other people are watching and stuff. And I mean, technically we're supposed to have the same script, but I watch some of these agents go off of script. And sometimes they're talking about stuff that has nothing to do with listing the property. And sometimes by the end of the role play session, I'm going, God, I think they talked me out of selling my house. You know, they just told me how great of an investment it is and how the rental market's up, you know, and how rental rates are going crazy. Maybe I should keep this rather than do for sale by owner, you know. And I see that a lot. When we don't have a script in front of us, then we just don't know what to say. No matter how many times we went through it, we don't know what to say. Now, number four here is objections. I really believe that a lot of agents get this confused. There's a difference between, have you ever, I'm sure you know what objection is, but do you know what a condition is? So a lot of agents, I see them, they'll go out there and they're actually not getting objections, they're actually getting conditions. And right now, 2020, with people still, being sick, there's lots of times you'll be on the phone with somebody and you say, hey, well, you get to the end of the call, you go to set the appointment, things are great, right? Had an amazing call, and they go, and you can say, hey, well, can we meet Tuesday at 2? And they say, oh, well, yeah, that won't work with me. I can't meet you then. And a lot of agents would go, oh man, well, they can't meet me at that time. They basically end up ending the call and hanging up. Well, and they say, oh, well, they don't want to meet an agent. Well, the problem is, maybe they did want to actually meet an agent. Maybe they were okay with meeting you. They really liked what you had to say. Just Tuesday at 2, they had a doctor's appointment. Hey, maybe they wasn't feeling well this morning. Maybe they, whatever it is, maybe that's the day the kids are home from school, right? And I see that a lot. And a lot of agents just say, hey, they want to use an agent, and they just move on. Where we should be going through the process, Brian, of asking for an appointment 3 times during the call. And I feel like a lot of you guys out there that are making calls and you're not doing this, and you're not continuing to ask questions after they tell you no, I think you're missing a lot of opportunity. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're on the phone and you're like, hey, Mr. Seller, well, how about if I stop by Tuesday at 2? They say, oh, Tuesday at 2 won't work. And then you got to ask the follow-up question. Well, will you be at work then? Oh, well, yeah, we'll be at work. We work till 5. Oh, fantastic. Well, could I meet you at 6? Would 6 be better for you? Oh, well, when I get home, we got the kids, we got this, we got that, we got the dog, we got, whatever it is. They go, okay, no problem. Would tomorrow at 2 be better for you, or do you work tomorrow too? I go, oh, we work all during the week. Well, how about Saturday? Continuing to ask those questions. Basically, you're asking, why will not 2 o'clock not work for you? But you're asking in a way that they feel almost compelled. Okay, will you be at work tomorrow? Will you be at work today? If we get the habit of asking 3 times for an appointment, it will raise your conversion ratios for appointments through the roof right now.
Yeah, that's great advice. Just getting people to ask for the appointment once sometimes is a challenge. I've noticed, especially if you have new agents. The whole purpose of being on the phone is to get an appointment, and if people can keep that in their mind, but asking 3 times, great advice.
Yep, asking 3 times for the appointment, and then what I like to ask about today. If it's an expired or for sale owner, we're in such challenging times, and we're in such aggressive markets, and honestly, the agents that are really skilled are out there being extremely aggressive right now. And I feel like we need to get in front of the seller as quickly as possible. The longer you wait between your conversation and the appointment, the more opportunity there is going to be for another agent to get involved in your conversation. So if we can meet this afternoon, I think we should meet this afternoon, right? But if we can't meet at 2, I like to ask, hey, will 6 o'clock work? Because I assume most people work from 9 to 5 in my local market, But I also feel like right now we're at a time where in most markets, if you take a listing, it's probably going to sell, right? It's probably going to sell. You probably got a 90% chance. And as long as it's allowed to be shown, the seller really wants to sell, there's some little bit of motivation there, and it's not crazy priced. If it's a $200,000 house they want to put on MLS for $450, you should probably skip that one. If it's a $200,000 house they want to list for $229, man, it's a pricing strategy, right? It's not. Sometimes we list that house a little bit higher than where we think it'd be. 2 weeks from now, there's going to be 2 or 3 deals under contract, and all of a sudden, that house that was 10% overpriced last week is now the cheapest one that's active in the neighborhood. And but I feel like right now we need to get in front of as many sellers as possible, right? So I feel like our scripts few years ago, when there was a lot of sellers and not many buyers, I felt like we need to really get in there and we need to qualify a lot. We need to make sure they were motivated, make sure there's a reasonable price, make sure we wasn't wasting a lot of time with them. Somebody that didn't want to sell or couldn't really sell. Um, Now, though, I feel like with there being a lot of buyers and not a lot of sellers, I feel like we should try to get in front of as many sellers as possible. I think we need to practice minimally qualifying and then having a sales process to go through that actually lists the property, right? And I think a lot of that sales process, one way you can get ahead of your competition in your market is just by having a pre-listing package. By having a pre-listing package, something that you're sending them ahead of time that tells about you, your service, and what you do to sell homes. You know, we're in this unique business where a lot of agents get confused. They believe that we actually go out and sell houses. And Brian, I feel like we don't really sell houses. We sell a service that sells houses. And we get paid off that service's performance, of course. And most agents I feel like out there don't have a brochure that tells about their service. They don't really have anything. There are a lot of them are showing up at listing appointments and just kind of hoping that something happens there.
Yeah, I think I've seen numerous times, including I saw this for myself. But by adding a pre-listing packet and knowing to ask the right questions,
Mm-hmm.
I've I've seen it happen over and over. People go from a 25 to a 25% conversion rate on appointments to listings signed up
Mm-hmm.
to 75, 80% just by doing those two
Oh,
things.
without a doubt. You know what, man? Over the years, I've been in the real estate business 17 years, and you wouldn't believe how many guys and girls I've got listings over that were honestly sold more real estate with me, probably dressed a little better, probably, they done so many things better than me, I felt like, right? But the thing I did was I had a pre-listing package and they didn't. And there's been so many times where there's been multiple agents going to an appointment where I've talked to the seller and I said, hey, I tell you what, how about if I go ahead and send you over our marketing plan and you go ahead and ask these other agents for their marketing plan too. That way you can lay them side by side and compare them all and just see who has the best plan to sell your house. And then, of course, send that over, follow up. And man, 9 out of 10 times, if there was multiple people going on an appointment, I was the only guy that had a pre-listing package to send. I was the only guy that had a written marketing plan. And that was a big deal. That's been a big deal in my business and a big deal for my clients that I coach. Now I've got two other things, man, that I think that we shouldn't neglect here. Two lead sources I want to give you guys. Number one, I know we don't have much time here. I had this 7 tips, Brian, that I said, hey, I got to squeeze these into 30 minutes for you guys. And the next one is, I think, old expires. So a lot of agents that focus real heavy on the stuff that expired today and in the last 30 days,
Mm-hmm.
where we're in such a great time in the world. There's so many listings that expired last year in the last like 12 to 24 months that those people ended up those landlords, not by choice. They ended up landlords because they couldn't sell their house last year before last. Maybe they couldn't get quite enough money. Now we've had appreciation and we've had some significant challenges in the landlording business, or rental business that, man, those people that couldn't sell last year, now they could probably sell their house and they can probably get a little more money for it.
Are the people that you're coaching doing a lot of that? Has that been a big focus?
That's been a big focus.
Okay. And I'm guessing it's driving results.
Old expires, man, has been a big focus. I know I got some coaching clients who are probably sick of me talking about them, but it's a great source of business that a lot of agents just aren't going after right now. Or they went after them in the past, or maybe they called one time and now they just kind of dropped off the radar and those people aren't being called, right? Doesn't mean they don't want to sell today still. It just means they couldn't sell a year ago. Or you know what? Maybe they had a bad experience with their realtor and they just said, hey, we don't want to deal with realtors anymore, and they just kind of blew it off. Now the last thing here that I want to share, it's not really necessarily a listing tip, but it's a tip that we all kind of forget about. You know what? We're in such a crazy time. Back again with rental rates across the country are skyrocketing. In my area, I cannot believe what people are paying. right? You just go down through Craigslist and look and see what asking prices for rentals are. And sometimes I have sticker shock, even in my own neighborhood, right? And I go, Jesus, I wouldn't pay that to live here. I mean, I like where I live, but I wouldn't pay that. I wouldn't pay some of the rental rates. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to rent the house next door to me for what I seen it for rent for on Craigslist the other day. Now, but the thing about that is there's a lot of our sphere of influence, right? That through this whole coronavirus, through this year, through rental rate increases, they've been out there renting, and lending is starting to open back up again. And there's a lot of those people that, hey, all of a sudden, they never really thought about buying, but all of a sudden, when that 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that used to be $1,000 a month is now $1,400 a month, now they're going, hey, you know what? Maybe I should check and see what buying's all about. Or, you know what? Some of our sphere of influence, sometimes they forget who we are because they haven't talked to us in a while. But I'll tell you this, here just this month, I've had 2 friends. One of them, I'll be honest with you, known the guy for a long time. He'll probably never see this, or hopefully he never sees this. Never thought he'd be able to buy a house. Never thought he'd be able to buy a house. Never thought he'd get approved. When I was thinking of my sphere of influence, he was one of them that got skipped, right? We all have that. We all kind of get a little snobby with our sphere of influence and go, yeah, they can't afford to buy or sell. But there's a phrase I heard somebody else say, that we shouldn't judge somebody else's wallet, right? But this guy, all of a sudden, they need to rent a place. They're seeing how much it's costing for them to rent a new place here. And you know what? He had to work on a couple things with his credit a couple of months ago. He's got those fixed. He can actually buy a nicer house than what he was going to rent, and cost him less money a month. And he's going to be a homeowner versus being a renter again. And I've seen the same thing with sellers too. Like I got a listing here a couple of weeks ago. The lady, you know what? She had an emotional attachment to the property. There were some family things that went there, how she ended up with it. Never thought she'd move. You know what? Going through my sphere of influence, just checking on people on Facebook. Hey, how's it going? Making occasional real estate posts. It's not just a link, not just an outbound link or some kind of obnoxious realtor thing we all see our colleagues posting. Just that every now and then posting a little bit of information about what's happening in the world and the market. She messages me and goes, hey, do you think I can get X for my house? And I said, you know what? I don't know. Let me look. I do some research, do a quick CMA for her. And I said, hey, it looks like you're going to be in this range. Man, I emailed over the listing agreement. She took the pictures for me. We got on MLS that night. There's a lot of opportunities with our sphere of influence. And, this whole thing, this new normal we have, is allowing us to all of a sudden, it's okay to work from home, and everybody's working from home, and all of a sudden location isn't as important as what it was for a lot of people. So guys, with this whole thing 2020, we can't forget our sphere of influence. There's a lot of opportunities there we're all missing.
Yeah, definitely. All right, any last words of advice as we just wrap up here?
Man, you know what, we're in an interesting time. There's a lot of opportunities. I think there's more opportunities today than there was 5 years ago. And there's more opportunities that people actually need us. They need skilled, knowledgeable real estate agents. And I think we have a duty to go out there and help those people.
All right. Well, Jason, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate you jumping in.
Thanks, Brian.
And have an amazing day.
Hey, you too. Thank you so much.
Thanks.